Welcome to Apaga University. I'm Inga.
And I'm Julie. We are two
momtrepreneurs
who have built an in-home care business from the ground up, guided every step of the way by God's care and fueled by agape love.
16 years later and over 100 podcast episodes already under our belts, we invite you to continue on this journey with us as we share stories that resonate, insights that inspire, and practical guidance that empowers you to face any obstacle along this path.
Whether you're a professional caregiver, a family member, or are simply curious about what your steps will be when you need them, you have come to the right place.
Oh, hey, and while you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And after that, make sure you send this to a friend.
Yes, do it. All right, we'll quit fooling around and get to it.
Let's go. Class is in session.
Hello, Sunshines, and hello, Julie.
Oh, hi.
How goes the battle?
You know, I just about had a big old snafu this morning.
Uh-oh, snafus.
Snafu.
Do tell.
Oh, it was bad. So, you know, I've been graying, not gracefully. I've been fighting it every day.
Oh.
And
the hair graying?
The hair gray.
Okay,
Yes. And so I saw you use this really cool powder to touch up your grays one day.
Yes.
I was like, that is like the coolest invention since sliced bread. So I went and partook of it. Didn't use it till this morning.
Oh, no.
And noticed it was awfully dark. And my hair's gotten lighter and lighter throughout all of my years. Anyway, I went to put one on. Smack dab, I had the most perfect dark line. And then I was scumming it out.
Did you have the panic rub?
Yes. And so my forehead's all red. Nothing is covered. Because then I realized that there was just so much gray. A little dab wasn't going to do it.
Well, you look great. I would never know.
Well, I was like, well, this would be perfect for a mustache. But I don't need to color a mustache, for goodness sakes.
Oh, no.
Or
So it's just too dark of the powder?
It's just the...
It just wasn't going to work for you.
I tell you that I'm low maintenance, and I still try, and this is what happens.
Then you had almost a snafu.
A snafu.
Oh, my gosh. You know what? I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not. Vests are like the perfect invention. Do you wear vests?
Well, with a vest, what was it? Your torso was cold, but your arms were hot?
Something. It's perfect.
That
it's
was
like
funny.
Perfect. It was funny. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's perfect. It's good for winter, good for spring, good for summer, good for podcasting.
Right.
But I think I do feel bad because in our Lost Lake stuff, I wear this vest and I have a black one like this in almost everything that we record. And I'm like, they must think I never change my clothes, but I do wash them.
Oh, good.
It's kind of like a jacket though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just highly recommend a vest if you've never tried it. You should.
I should.
Mm-hmm.
I shall.
And I apologize that I sound the way that I sound.
Yeah.
You had
the
particular crud. I have a different particular crud. Molly now has a combination of the cruds.
Oh, crud.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Some nasty stuff going around.
Yeah. And every time we get it, it seems like it's a little bit meaner every time.
For sure.
Not cool.
Not cool. All right. Well, let's get into this. We have a very serious topic today, and I'm pretty I'm shooken up about it.
Yeah.
I'm shaken up about
Shooken.
it. I am shook. I don't like it, but we've got to talk about it so we can help try to protect ourselves.
Yes.
In the meantime, we'll start with a verse, and this is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, and it says, "Be careful. Watch out for attacks from Satan, your great enemy. He prowls around like a hungry, roaring lion, looking for some victim to tear apart." True.
That's why I picked it today, because of the topic.
I know.
I mean, everywhere you turn, you see where Satan is trying to overtake everything by people's bad behaviors and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this, what we're going to talk about, is just one venue.
Yeah, just one way to watch out for those bad guys.
Bad guys.
What'd you bring for a good news story?
Oh, my word. There is a mom who runs a hair workshop for dads.
Oh.
Yeah. So they literally bring their little girls in, and the dads sit there, and there's a video, and they're just very much seriously cutting apart, not cutting, but
yes.
What is it? Just taking a
parting
comb
the
and parting their hair. Yeah. See, I never did that for my poor kids. I should take the class. But anyway.
For dads and Julies.
So anyway, it's twofold. because after the dads fix their hair, the little girls just they said that the look of adoration on their faces to their daddies is so cute.
Oh, that's amazing.
Anyway, it went really well, and they're learning how to do braids, pigtails, and fancier stuff. And that's, to me, absolutely adorable.
What a cool thing.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where we are in our episodes in terms of our sale, or if I don't think we had our lamb sale prior to recording again. But so. I stumbled across Joel Osteen because, as I do, a devotional. And when sale season comes up, it gets very it's a little bit of anxiety that goes through us because we want our animals to perform for people, and we hope that people show up and that they find the value and that they're willing to, maybe spend a little bit extra more because of what goes along with getting to work with us. And so I always get a little bit nervous about those things. And then my devotional from Joel Osteen comes up and it says this. So the scripture that goes along with it was actually Galatians 6, verse 9. And it says, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. And I think that hits it for us because there's so much work that goes into raising these sheep and so much cost that's involved in it. And, we're always bringing in new genetics and trying to increase the quality of what we are breeding, because then in turn it gives opportunities to the kids that are purchasing from us. So it's like, just don't give up. Just don't give up. It's hard right now. It's hard every day, honestly.
Yeah.
But if we don't give up, it's just, we'll have the blessing. And I see that every time. So anyway, this is what Joel had to say about it. It says, when you're doing the right thing, but nothing is changing, let me encourage you that the right time is the best time. God can see the big picture, and he is working behind the scenes. He's lining up the favor and arranging the breaks you need. It's important to not only trust God, but to trust his timing. Thoughts will tell you it's never going to happen, but when you come into your right time, all the forces of darkness cannot stop what God has planned. At the right time, your harvest of blessing will come. Now, here's the key. If there's a right time, that means any other time is the wrong time. It takes faith and patience to see the promises. God knows what he's doing. If it hasn't happened yet, it hasn't been the right time, but your time is already on the schedule. In the waiting process, God is doing a work in you, getting you stronger, developing your character. What God is going to do is going to be bigger, better, and more fulfilling than you can imagine. So I just take comfort in that, because it's like it helps keep you going when you're doing all this hard work and you think, why aren't things happening? Why aren't things happening? And then, and then we have our first sale, and it just exceeds anything that I could have ever even dreamed of. And we have some sales coming up. And so it just, keep doing the good work,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Very good.
Yeah. So I thought that was great. So if you guys have stories, verses, anything that you want to share with us, you can email to julie@ipagahomecare.com or inga@ipagahomecare.com.
Yes.
And we do hope that you will do and share with us.
We are starting to get more and more.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of exciting. We're getting a lot of feedback, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yes. So the topic today, I actually said, Julie, you can't say no. We have to do this. And it basically, it's talking about scams, people that target, we're talking about seniors, but it's not just seniors. We get targeted here in this company every day. I had a personal attack last week, I think it was, and it really got me thinking about how much more aggressive these scammers are becoming. And so I thought it was good to talk about. The first article is from the National Council on Aging, and it's just basically, I guess, what they have defined as the top 5 financial scams targeting older adults. But we won't just stick only to that, because we'll go into some more articles that have a lot of variations of what people are doing. And actually, to start out, I will tell you what happened to me. I got this text message from Wells Fargo, and it basically said to reset, here's your code to reset your password, whatever. Well, then I get this call. I was on the phone, the Apaga phone, and I was getting calls on my cell phone. So basically, like 4 calls in a row, just boom, boom, boom. And the 4th one, I finally was able to answer it. And it essentially was an individual saying that he was from Wells Fargo and that there was something going on with my account, that they needed to be able to shut it down, but that I was going to get a code from them and I needed to share that code. So I was like, well, that sounds kind of weird. Tell me more about what this is or what's happening. Well, and at first they asked for my husband, and then I said, no, this is Inga. And so then it was like, oh, Mrs. Lake. Okay. So then this individual was like, It looks like there's something going on with your Wells Fargo account, and we're from the fraud department, and we're trying to help. You know, we need to be able to get in there, but you've got to provide this code to me so that I can get into your account. And I'm like, this sounds weird to me. Can you give me a phone number? What's the 800 number that I can call to verify this on my own? So he gives me a phone number. It's not an 800 number. And I'm like, no, it's the 800 number. Well, that's it. So I call it, and the individual on the other end answers, but they didn't answer Wells Fargo. They didn't answer. It was very weird. So then they're like, well, what are you calling about? And I said, well, I'm just wondering if there's a fraud situation going on my account. Well, let me transfer you to the online fraud department. So it transfers me to another person. So now we've got 3 people involved in all of this. And the third guy answers the phone. This is Frank. And I was like, hey, Frank. Yeah, what can I help you with? And I'm like, well, I don't know, because you guys originally called me, and well, you've got to give me this code to be able to, so that I can get into your account. And I started to read the code, and then I was like, wait a minute. This says you will not ever, do not ever give this code to anyone. So this doesn't sound right to me. Well, ma'am, this is how our systems work. And between these 3 guys, they're just in my head about, it triggers, somebody tried to go into your account. It triggers this. We're calling you. We caught it. We're trying to help you shut this down. Well, anyway, by the time I get to the end of it, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do that. I have a local Wells Fargo, so I think I'll go to my local store or local branch. So anyway, hang up, whatever. So then I actually slow down, go online, look at the 800 number for Wells Fargo. It's obviously not what these guys had given me. I call that number and then essentially start talking through with an agent, and it's 100% a scam.
Wow.
Yep. So basically she was able to see that nothing had actually happened on my account, but what they were telling me was that an account had been opened in Memphis, Tennessee in our names, and they were trying to basically be able to shut that account down, but without the codes from me, they weren't able to get in and see everything. And I was like, well, why don't you send me an email with this information? Oh no, you'll get a handwritten, you'll get a letter in the mail 4 to 6 days after we shut down the account. You'll get a letter that explains everything. And I mean, there was so much resistance, but also so much pushing and pressure. Wow. I'm like, this does not sound right.
Right.
It just doesn't sound right.
Right.
So anyway, through the actual Wells Fargo, we were able to determine that, yes, somebody was trying to get into that account. They weren't able to do it because it was a two-step verification process. So I kept getting these. And here's the other thing. Those were coming from Wells Fargo. The texts that I was getting were actually coming from Wells Fargo, because when I got the actual lady at the real fraud department, she then sent me something, and it came up on the same number. But it wasn't for me to give her a code. She basically said, I'll send you an email. And in the email, it specifically says that your customer service representative or whatever, you will need to give this code. Don't give it to anybody else. So, I mean, all's well that ends well, but only because I had enough, just, I guess, spidey sense about saying this is wrong.
Oh, wow.
That was at that very day or the next day, one of our caregivers had a situation where scammers and hackers started in her phone, got into her computer, and ended up with $2,200 that she is not going to be able to recover. It's just sad. So anyway, that's kind of what prompted me to want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So getting back to the top 5 financial scams targeting older adults, and this comes from the National Council on Aging. First of all, you need to know that financial scams targeting older adults, they're costly, they're widespread, and they are very much on the rise. The complaints of fraud for people who are 60 plus years old, $3.1 billion in losses.
Oh my goodness.
3.1. And that's an 82.35% increase in losses compared to 2021. So that was actually in 22. Just in 22, $3.1 billion in losses.
Oh, and they're getting more and more sophisticated.
Yep. And basically they say, okay, so why do financial scammers target seniors? Well, basically they tend to go for seniors because they think that this population has more money in the bank. There's been more time to save up your money. And also basically it has to do with being a more trusting demographic. So they're not programmed to believe that someone is going to do this, right?
Man, no
Me,
kidding.
I'm like, oh, I know you're up to no good, right? But this older generation, it's not how they grew up. It's not how they were raised. So they just want to believe in what people are telling them. Basically, so government impersonation scams, it's a huge one. Basically what they do, they'll call an unsuspecting older adult, pretend to be from like the IRS. They'll say that there are unpaid taxes. They'll threaten arrest. They'll threaten deportation if it's someone that would apply to. And they're basically saying you need to pay up immediately. Otherwise, these things are going to happen. They might say that Social Security or Medicare benefits will be cut off if the person doesn't provide like personal identifying information. And basically, once they get a hold of this information, then they use it to commit identity theft, right? So, or basically they're saying you need to pay right now. So people get scared and they think, okay, if I've got to pay this instant, and so that's one of them. Then we go on to the sweepstakes and lottery scams. This is a big one too. This may be, you've probably heard of them. Have you heard of those ones before? So basically they call older adults. They tell them that they won like a lottery, a prize, something like that. And that if they want to claim their winnings, they need to send money, cash, gift cards. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And that I do believe is what happened with our employee. It was basically transferring money out of an account onto some type of a card.
Oh,
Because they basically pretended that her bank accounts had been hacked and they needed to get that money safe and out of there before someone came in and stole it. But they were actually the ones that came in and stole it.
Oh my gosh. My aunt actually just within the last couple of weeks, she is a very prolific writer and she's had several books written and it's all about American history and she's really into the military and in the community she lives in Spokane, she has done many books on the policemen and the history. And she's just pretty incredible. But, somebody got a hold of her and said they wanted to do a book deal. They were going to then send her to New York and all of these places all over the place to get her book out there, do book signings, all of the things. And she was getting more and more excited because this was like, what? Somebody's really recognizing me. And she finally, after the initial thrill of being recognized as a very good writer of these types of topics, she was able to then actually stop, think about it a little bit, call on a few people, and then was told, I'm sorry for dashing your hopes, but this was a scam.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far it had gotten to the point that they were like, well, for only $40,000, you can start this, I don't know what they did, but she was like, well, guys, guess what? It's not going to happen. So it was very sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of these, like the sweepstakes or the lottery ones, what they'll do is they'll basically tell you that you have to pay your taxes or fees up front.
Right.
And then you'll get the money. And they're tricky. They'll pretend to be like a publisher's clearinghouse or well-known, organizations out there.
Yeah.
Robocalls and phone scams. So basically, one thing that they do, or a common one, is you answer and they'll say, can you hear me? And then when somebody says yes, they hang up. Well, they get that yes, and then they put it into whatever they want to say that you've agreed to.
Oh, no.
Yep. So they take advantage of sophisticated automated phone technology to dial large numbers of households from anywhere in the world. While there are legal uses for the technology, robocalls can also be used to carry out a variety of scams on trusting older adults who answer the phone. Some robocalls may claim that a warranty is expiring on the person's car or electric device. Payment is needed to renew it. Like the government impersonation calls, scammers often spoof the number from which they're making the call to make it appear as if it's coming from a reputable organization. And I've had that happen. You cannot trust on the caller ID anymore what you see come up.
No.
It's just crazy.
It's really hard because it will come from every small town in Montana to even a local number. We had one come in that said it was from the Sportsman Ski House. And it was certainly not the Sportsman Ski House when you answered it.
Another one, a popular phone scam, is the impending lawsuit scam. In this case, someone receives an urgent call, frightening call from someone claiming to be from a government or law enforcement agency. They're told if they don't pay a fine by a certain deadline that they would be sued or arrested for whatever the made up offense is. So I had it done a couple years ago. It was actually somebody called pretending to be the electric company, saying that our electric bill hadn't been paid. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't, because I pay the bills and I know it was paid. But anyway, those are the ones when I know for darn sure that it's BS. I'm actually pretty mean. Not nice. Well, and the one last week with Wells Fargo, I called them back afterwards. They answered the phone, Mrs. Lake. And I said, hey, I just want you to know that I know it's a scam. So how do you sleep at night?
Yeah.
Like, not cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, computer tech support scams. So technical support scams prey on older adults' lack of knowledge about computers and cybersecurity. A pop-up message or blank screen usually appears on a computer or phone telling the user that their device is damaged and needs fixing. I think this is what happened to our caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
When they call the support number for help, the scammer may either request remote access to the older person's computer or they demand that they pay a fee.
Mm-hmm.
Access, I believe, is what happened. And then basically they get in there and then they're saying, look, the scammers are controlling your computer. See that cursor moving? Well, yes, the scammers are controlling the computer and it's you. So anyway, tech support fraud is increasingly common and targets some of the most vulnerable individuals. Above all, you need to remember that whether it's a phone call or a website, legitimate tech support won't ever proactively seek you out to fix an issue. That's very important to remember. Like they're not going to come to you. You have to go to tech support, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you get that call, it's more than likely, or a message on your computer. Yeah. And there's just so many devastating losses on this. So sad. So basically you just need to really, really be paying attention. And if it seems like it's, right. Patsy had one. That's the next one.
Yep.
The grandparent scam. You talk.
Yeah, the grandparent scam. And so it's so simple that you fall for it. And my grandma did hook, line, and sinker, and she just about lost $10,000. But basically somebody called and goes, Grandma, and I'm in jail. And basically she thought it was my oldest daughter. And so she was finding money to be able to get her out of jail as quickly as possible because she couldn't imagine the little darling would ever do anything to deserve to be in there. But anyway, they were very specific. Go to Walgreens and get one of those green dot cards or whatever the case was. And then you need, same thing, put it on a gift card. And then we'll, make sure she's not arrested and all of these things. And Grandma, I was mad about the money. We were able to get on top of it before any money was spent, but I was madder at how upset she was.
Yes.
Because of thinking that one of my kids was in trouble. And I said, Patsy, if my kid's going to jail, it's probably because they damn well deserved it, and we'll deal with it afterwards.
Let him sit overnight.
Yeah, let's let the dust settle and figure out what happened. But don't you dare. I appreciate that you want to help them, but you need to just hang on tight until we get the rest of the story.
Yes. Yes, always call the support staff on the kids before you
the
go.
Parents.
Make sure that this is indeed.
But she was devastated, and it was so scary for her. And that's what made me madder.
Yes.
Was because she was just literally physically sick because she thought one of her babies was having a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Another sad one, the romance scam. And this one, I did a home visit with a family who their mother had lost total, basically it was under 200,000. And I think they were able to recover maybe half of what she had lost, but it was on a romance scam. Is basically as more people turn to online dating, con artists, they just seize those opportunities. They create elaborate fake profiles, mostly on social media. And then they just exploit older adults to get money.
Oh gosh, even on Facebook, on my Facebook, I'll have a post and then all of a sudden some random guy will say, "Oh my gosh, you seem so lovely. What a great sense of humor. Can we please be friends?"
Yes.
And it's just like, delete.
Yeah.
But you
hard pass.
Quite often, every week at least, get somebody that they're single, but look at them. They're good looking and they are holding a dog, and they
must be
traveled the world, and they're of course a doctor, and why would you not want to hook up with that, right? So delete again.
Yes. A lot of those actually that might be or pretend to be overseas, and they request money for things like visas or medical emergencies, travel expenses to come to the U.S. We had a client that had someone that she was talking with overseas. Well,
Africa.
Yep. But I don't know whether or not she ever ended up spending any money on that.
She did, because she traveled there to see him.
Yes. And then
got there and got ghosted.
Yes.
And was devastated because she was sure she was in love with this man.
Yeah.
And her family was devastated because they were like, please do not go. Please do not go. And she was hell-bent on going to Africa to meet her prince. And so she went over there. And they said, she may never come home.
Yes, I remember that now.
And she did.
Right.
With a broken heart.
Yes.
But, man, the money she spent just on sending gifts.
Yes.
And all of it because she was in love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just sickening.
Yeah.
Business imposter scams. Basically, the FTC has found that this type of scam takes a heavy financial toll on consumers ages 60 and older. Imposter scams pretend to be from a business or charity.
Yep.
You want to trust them, right? So you share your personal information and you donate your money, and it's just.
I do feel bad for the reputable places that are trying to make money because we have the sheriff's posse always calls.
Oh, yes.
And at that point, you don't even want to take their calls anymore.
It's true.
Because you're just like, I can't simply trust anybody anymore. If I'm going to give money, I'm going to give it straight to the person in their hand.
Mm-hmm. I try to do that now. It's like, I think I'll just go local to where I know for sure beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medicare and health insurance scams. So basically
all over the place.
Yes. Internet, email. Okay. So email, we're getting a ton of these.
A ton of them.
People are sending us like, hey, your password is going to be expiring in 5 days. Click the link below to reset your password. I got one that was actually for our Montana, like our Medicaid web portal.
That one freaks me out.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
Yeah, so you want to look at the email address of where it comes from and make sure. I mean, if it doesn't look legitimate, it's probably not legitimate. And I guess my recommendation on that would be don't ever click on those links to go and change a password. I know it seems easier to do that, but you need to go into your account directly because you're just setting yourself up. You've been getting some saying Kevin Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very weird, especially when it comes from somebody that you know. But I'm like, he would never send any information like that.
Yes.
So this is weird. But you then have to assume that if anybody else got it from him, they wouldn't know. And so they would respond.
Right. And they all look they just look so real. I got one the other day on a QuickBooks thing. Again, it's like you need to redo your account, it's time to renew and change this, change that. And I needed to call them anyway on a different thing. So I was like, hey, I got this email and it was verified as being completely not legitimate. So from an article that I found on Hebrew Senior Life, we can talk about some tips to protect seniors from being scammed. And I think it's really protecting anyone. So this is a really big one. And this is good because I'm this person. Don't act quickly. Like I'm I have to sleep on it person, right? I mean, in terms of like, if you're sending money, don't act quickly.
Yeah.
So basically most of these scams are based on fear and urgency. Right. So you need to take a little bit of extra time, think it through, evaluate the legitimacy of what you're being asked to do. Avoid odd payment types. So basically if they ask for like cash apps and cryptocurrency and gift cards and things like that it's probably very, very suspicious because legitimate businesses, that's not how they're going to want their money. The government isn't going to want their money on an Apple gift card, right? Notice threatening behavior. So often scams are presented as urgent situations requiring immediate action. So if you receive threats or hostility for asking questions, then you might find that this person is a scammer, right? If they start threatening you, well, the police are going to be called. And I'll get that sometimes. Well, the cops are going to show up. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to show up on your doorstep. So quit bothering me. Be suspicious of fake caller IDs. So again, the computer software can change those to anything. And check those phone numbers. That's why I asked Wells Fargo. I was like, give me the 800 number. What's the 800 number?
Right.
And they give me one that seemed completely just bogus, which it still went to somebody, but it went to that scammer's call center.
I was surprised they actually answered you because usually they won't.
Well, and 3 different people. And that's what our caregiver said. She talked to 3 different people in the midst of all of that. So it's just so confusing when you're like, all of these people are on the same page trying. Yeah, they are. They are. Be cautious about impersonation. So again, that's the grandparent thing. And or pretending to be a government agency, things like that. Don't reveal personal information. I always try to say, you know what, how can I contact you back?
Right.
Like I want to be able to get in touch with you, or you send me an email, or what website can I go and look at to verify that what you're telling me is true? Avoid suspicious links. Don't click on those things no matter how
A lot of the times, like on Facebook through Messenger, you'll get somebody that goes, "Do you know this person?" And that will then just wreak havoc on everything.
Yes. We got some, I forgot about this one, from one of our little friends growing up, like a brother to Sammy, texting, or no, came through Facebook asking for money. I'm in trouble. I need money.
Right.
Well, I just immediately go text directly, like, hey, what's going on? What do you need money for? Come to find out, he was hacked. So anyway, that's another thing. Ask a family or a friend or family member. So kind of, it's like that. If you're going to trust, make sure you verify. Like, call Julie. Make sure that her kids aren't in jail.
Right.
Yes. Add extra security to your accounts. It's just, I know it's a pain in the butt when you have to do those like multi-factor authentication things, but it's worth doing to protect yourself.
Right.
And then basically, let somebody know if, report it, I guess, if you feel like you've been scammed or you've been scammed. And what I'm going to do, because we could go on and on and on about this forever,
right.
But I did find an article from the Federal Trade Commission, and we'll have Alyssa link it in the show notes, and it basically says what to do if you were scammed. Right. So there's just these little charts that basically say
really good stuff.
Yeah, if you paid a scammer, and it gives different examples of what it is. Did you pay with a credit card? Was it a transfer from your bank? Was it whatever? And then it also talks about if you gave a scammer your personal information, and or if your scammer has access to your computer or your phone.
Right.
So, and then it talks about making sure to report that to the FTC. So anyway, like I said, we could talk about this forever because there's a lot of it, and people are getting more and more creative with the terrible, awful things that they're trying to do to steal money from us.
When in doubt, ask lots of questions.
Ask lots of questions. And, if you find out for sure that they are scamming you, make them cry.
You know what? When they were mean to my grandma, I knew that the guy said his name was Brad, and he was one of those that actually answered the phone too. And I was like, Brad, you are a freaking scumbag. How would you feel if somebody did this to your grandma? And I tried really hard to make him feel bad.
Yeah, good.
Because I got a little heated the more I talked.
I know. I kind of get that way.
Yeah.
I want them to think about it. I mean, I know they don't care.
Well, there's got to be a conscience in there somewhere.
Yeah. What would your mother say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So what did you bring for a grandma saying to wind us down?
Well, Jeff Foxworthy. Everybody knows Jeff.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Anyway, he recently became a grandparent.
Oh.
Yeah. So the thing he said about being a grandparent was so very, very cute. He said, basically, I had no idea I had that much untapped love inside me. He said, I'm dead serious. I never knew I was going to love a human being this much.
Aww.
So the other thing, then on the flip side, of course, he has to say, but, I do actually take my in-laws on vacation often to make up for all the jokes on them that I use in my comedy.
Oh, that's funny. That's really, really funny.
Yes.
Good for you, Jeff. Right on. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. You can do Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube. Send us your stories. Send us your good news, your verses that you'd like us.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can do that. INGA@apagahomecare.com, Julie@apagahomecare.com.
And also, let's remind everybody, we are franchising.
Yes.
So if you love us so much that you would like to work with us daily, hey, we've got a business opportunity for you.
Nice. All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Have a good day.
The Caregiven name is a registered trademark of the Veritrust Health Incorporated Company. IPAGA is not connected to, affiliated with, or endorsed by Veritrust or any of its affiliates.